As the new Pixel 6a from Google has just been released, instead of checking that out, let's check out the old Pixel 4a instead and why you should still buy it in 2022. Hey there, it's TZ here with Technological Gadgets, bringing you the best in tech and making it work for you. On this channel, we usually do tech reviews, but other times we show you, why you should still buy older tech in 2020, such as this Pixel 4a I have right here. So if there's something that interests you, make sure to drop me a like to let me know, and subscribe, if you would like to help this channel out for free. But without further ado, let's get right into the first reason why. The first reason is that this phone, even in 2022, is still being updated to the newest version of Android 12. And phones from many companies at this point, aside from Google and Apple with their great iOS support, are no longer supported with the latest software updates or security patches, which will make your phone feel way older than it actually is, cause you to miss out on new features, and overall just makes it less safe to use, especially if you are not receiving any more security patch updates. Not to mention, Google is the only one that uses no OS skin on top of Android and gives you that stock Android experience that feels so good and seamless to use, with smart integrations like automatic backups to Google Photos and many of the stock Google apps. Aside from that, let's talk about the strength of this phone, and it is definitely its reliable and trusty single lens 12 megapixel camera, especially for photos, which being a few years old and is the same one that is used in the new and shiny Pixel 6a, which has just been released a few weeks back. Looks great and can even beat out more recent phones at its price, while having the ability to take raw photos and have a ton of adjustability in the built-in camera app itself to edit them yourself to your liking. Not to mention the other specialty modes such as night mode, which literally takes unusable dark photos and makes them look good when using this mode, while having amazing portrait mode, which nicely blurs out the background and is one of the best in the market. Best of all, you can use all of the night mode and portrait mode features on the front facing camera alongside selfie illumination, which basically maxes out the brightness of your phone and lights up your face. One cool trick is to use this in combination with night mode, and that allows you to take decent looking pictures even in complete darkness. Yes, in complete darkness, pitch black conditions, you can still take pretty good looking photos. The photos turn out absolutely amazing with fast and accurate autofocus, accurate exposure, and white balance, good dynamic range, especially for its price, while having excellent bright and vivid color performance even compared to more expensive phone cameras. And I bet you, other than the similarly priced 2022 iPhone SE, no other phone even to this date at its current price point can do as good of a job as this phone. That to me is just absolutely insane, which you can see for yourself with these samples I have provided you throughout this video, and that can be stored on the included internal 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage. Speaking of camera quality, this is how the front facing camera on the Pixel 4a looks like. It shoots a maximum of 1080p 30 with no 60 frames option or any a higher resolution options. And walking around, this is the stabilization as well as how the camera looks in a bright and well lit environment. As for the rear camera, shooting in a brightly lit environment, you can shoot in the higher resolution 4K 30, which is nice, with the stabilization looking like this when moving around, or the higher frame rate 1080p 60 option for faster paced stuff with similar stabilization, while having slow motion at a quarter or an eighth speed and a cinematic mode if you want to take gimbal-like shots at half speed but at 1080p 30 frames with no audio. If you would like to improve the microphone quality of the videos you are shooting with this phone, you can plug in a regular pair of earbuds with an inline microphone like I have right here through the use of the headphone jack on this phone and make your video sound a whole lot nicer than using the built-in microphone on the Pixel 4a. After analyzing the videos on this phone, the video quality is quite the same with the photos, which means great color, autofocus exposure and white balance performance with pretty good stabilization, especially on the rear camera, though not as good as the competing 2020 iPhone SE from Apple that you might be considering for a similar price. As for the ports, you get a headphone jack on the top, which I have briefly mentioned just now, and it is super nice as it allows you to use wired headphones without that annoying dongle in the way, which is even harder to find on phones these days, no matter the price, while having the ever modern USB-C and 18 watts of fast charging, which does charge the internal 3140 milliamp hour battery decently fast. With the older mid-range Snapdragon 730G processor, it is able to last decently well throughout the day, especially if you are not a power user and use your phone for extended gaming or video editing sessions, which this processor along with the 6 GB of included RAM does pretty well when playing Call of Duty Mobile as well as Wild Rift, or trying to push the camera to its absolute limit for extended periods of time like I do. Onto the other less interesting stuff. I like how the power button has this nice teal color just above the volume rocker, and it's all placed perfectly where your hands would sit on the right side. Sorry lefty. The fingerprint sensor is placed on the back where your index finger would sit when using the phone and makes unlocking it seamless and speedy. Speaking of size, the Pixel 4a is a good and comfortable size for one-handed use, even for smaller or bigger size hands, but sadly feeling a little plasticky and cheap while accommodating a hole punch cutout for that 5.81 inch 1080p OLED 60Hz display with HDR support and Gorilla Glass 3, which sadly didn't manage to protect my phone from that one unfaithful fall. And it is not water resistant of any kind. Still, it is an awesome screen with inky blacks and super high contrast for the immersion, while other phones are still using the comparably duller LCD screens, though it is a bit dim in super bright environments, which is a flaw of OLED display on cheaper phones and not having high refresh rate. However, it does make up for it in the speaker department by having stereo speakers, which definitely surprised me, as many phones even a few years after this has released at this price point does not, which is definitely a shame. So even after 2 years of the Pixel 4a being released, I will still buy it at its $350 original price point that even until today still holds its value and can definitely beat out even modern phones at this price point. But if you want to pick this up for cheaper, refurbished options are available from reputable brands such as Amazon and their refurbished store for a little less. But what do you think of this phone? Do you think the Google Pixel 4a is still worth it in 2022, and will you pick it up? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you like this video, feel free to drop me a like to let me know, and subscribe if you would like to help support this channel and what I do completely for free. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the end, and I hope to see you in the next video.